Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the Champions Showdown Fischer Random Tournament in 2020. We are now in the last round of this very nice tournament. So before the round 9, the standings were like this. So Hikaru, Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen had 5.5 points, so they were tied on the first place. Levon, Aronian and Wesley were tied on the third place with 5 points. So in the game between Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian, Magnus got only a draw, I think in a better position, and Wesley, which was really a surprise, lost the game against Alireza Firouzja. Alireza had some troubles also in this tournament, but Wesley lost, I think, his decisive game, and now Hikaru Nakamura had all in his heads because here, if he wins the game against Peter Svidler, he is the winner of this very, very intense tournament. It gave us so much joy, I think, during the weekend, and I was really satisfied when I saw how these top grandmasters are improving the position of minor pieces, how they're improving their pawn structures through the game. Really, it was such a tough battle, and now Hikaru has the chance to be on the first place. So let's check out now what happened. I'll remove this current standings and the pairings of the last round. Here Hikaru played with the white pieces and he opened with the move e4. Peter Svidler responded with the move d5 and we have e5. Now after the move bishop to f5, we have sort of a Caruana setup here by Peter Svidler, and here Hikaru Nakamura attacks the bishop immediately, which is similar really to the Caruana where we chase the light square bishop. Here bishop to g6 was played and now h4. We have h6, we have h5. It's really like the Caruana, bishop to h7, and now after d4, here e6. And like usually in the Caruana, we play the move bishop to d3. We got our expansion on the 5th rank, which is the most important thing. But there is always, as I said, this relation between pawns and bishops. So you don't want to have too many pawns on dark squares when you're trading off your light square bishops. So that's why this pawn on h5 plays a very important positional role here by Hikaru Nakamura. At least Hikaru is competing on light squares, at least with the pawn. So trading off the bishop is a perfect idea here. But after bishop to d3 and queen to d3, in the post-match interview, Hikaru Nakamura admitted that he thought that he had a good position, but he made a couple of inaccuracies, and that gave him problems now in the continuation of the game, because here Peter Svidler played the move f5, and now Hikaru is not reacting here well. He plays e takes f6, and Hikaru also mentioned he should have played knight to h3, maybe something like, or maybe here knight to e2 and follow with knight to f4. We would then have really a compact position on the king side, and now we could maybe even break the position with c3. Still, this bishop could have a good activity, maybe with b3 or bishop to b2. But as I said, it's very important to create here, like Hikaru Nakamura said, a very, very nice setup here. At least bring one of these knights to f4 where it controls this very weak g6 square. But in the game, Hikaru took the pawn, and now he has many troubles, because here after the move queen to f6, knight to f3 was played, and now knight to f7, with of course ideas to get our knight maybe here to d6, and also on this very active e4. So of course, as a long-term plan, not immediate. So knight to h2. Here Hikaru wants of course to kick away the queen. We have queenside castling by Peter Svidler, and now knight to g4. Here queen to h4. That was a great move by Peter Svidler. Later played here really an active game. This queen sneaked into the position, and we have now knight to e5. Knight to e5, d takes e5. Again, I'm pointing you out, this is not a good position for Hikaru now, because now the pawn is in the center. In order to make something happen, in order to continue with your space advantage, you have to play f4 to support your e5 pawn. Then if you play f4, then you're blocking out your dark square bishop. On the other hand, black can make progress with a very, very nice move c5, c4, d4. With this bishop's activity, I think black has a comfortable game. But as I said, here Peter Svidler tried knight to e7, with also ideas to maybe cement the knight on a very active square on f5 here. We have bishop to d2. You see the problems of the dark square bishop now. In the game, knight to c6 was played, simply attacking the weakest, and we have now f4. I hope you realize now, this is really okay. It's really not such a bad bishop, because still it has some kind of an activity here on the queen side, but it's really blocked out here on the king side. I simply like this bishop more. This bishop on c5 can really cause some damage here and it can be activated much easier than Hikaru's bishop. So in the game, bishop to c5, even bishop to b4 could be an idea here, at least to provoke some kind of a weakness. Then after potential c3, we would simply retreat, but at least we have now also provoked, as I said, some light square weaknesses in front of the king. Still, of course, Hikaru Nakamura has opportunities to castle queenside here, but as a long-term playing, this light square weaknesses could be also a problem for white. So in the game, after the move f4, we have bishop to c5 by Peter Svidler, and we have now rook to f1. Here, Hikaru is desperately trying to improve the position of this pawn. This is now also a weakness. It's a backward pawn in the game. Here, very nice move by Peter Svidler, queen to a2. This is possible because Hikaru hasn't finished his development. He hasn't connected the rooks, and now comes a3. Here we have queen takes g2. Hikaru lost the pawn, but still at least he'll improve now the position of the king. King to a2, and now we have bishop to f2. Great move here again by Peter Svidler. We have knight to a1. So you see how Hikaru gets more and more pushed away by Peter Svidler's pieces. This knight is really passive. This bishop on f2 has a great activity. Still can retreat to b6. In the game, bishop to b6 it was played by Peter Svidler, and now we have rook to f3. Here Hikaru is trying to regroup. You have to make at least a draw now, as I said, to have some kind of an opportunity to win this tournament, because, as I said, Magnus Carlsen managed to get only a draw in the game against Levon Aronian, and we have now knight to d4. You see how it is easier for Peter Svidler to find better squares. Here, rook to g3, a very nice counterattack, at least something here for Hikaru Nakamura, and we have now queen to e4. Peter Svidler plays really the best move after the best move here. Queen to e4, really suggested also by the engine, simply going into a simplified line, trading off the queens. We have knight to f2, forcing now trade of queens. Queen takes d3, and now knight to d3. I think Hikaru found at least a way how to proceed here, because still he has the weakness, but at least he has now the counterattack on the weak pawn here on g7. But still, you have also troubles with your c2 pawn, so that's why here after the move knight to f5, Hikaru tried knight to g6. Peter Svidler didn't want to take. He doesn't want this rook to come into the game very actively. And now, when we evaluate now this position, really the best minor piece on the board is the knight on f5, so you should get rid of it. And here after the move c5, Hikaru finds again another way how to at least simplify the position more. After the move rook to f1, we have a rook to f7, and now at least rook to knight to g3, forcing really the trades of knights, now again with a clear target to attack the g7 pawn. So here knight takes g3, we have rook takes g3. Still, the evaluation is much better here for black. I hope you realize this expansion on the queen side is really not easy to handle here for Hikaru Nakamura, but that was all possible because of this strategical mistake by Hikaru, that he had to play the move f4. You see again, this bishop is not activated. The bishop on d2 is simply a bad piece. So king to d7 here. Peter Svidler realizes that this game could go into an endgame, so that's why it's very important to play with your king towards the center, play very actively, because I don't think that both of these kings are not endangered. You cannot create checkmate threat, so it's really time to activate our king. So bishop to b4, we have a5, great move again by Peter Svidler. We have bishop to d2, and now d4. Really a great space advantage that black has here in the continuation of the game. We have c3, and now king to c6. Here, maybe even d3 is a possibility. I really like this line because at least we have the supported pass pawn. But I think then b3 would be this positional threat by white. White could really split the pawns. Okay, Peter Svidler tried a different line, king to c6, and after c takes d4, we have bishop to d4, and now we have a 3 versus 2 situation here on the queen side. But it's still hard to win this endgame. You have to simplify the position further, maybe trade off the rooks, going into a simplified line where we have simply this pawn up. In the game, rook to c1, played by Hikaru, and now we have b5. a4. Here comes now the critical moment of the game. Here, Peter Svidler tried rook to b8. This is okay, because after a takes b5 we have rook to b5 and now rook takes c4, but at least now this king comes into the game very, very active. So but here maybe after the move a takes b5, king to b5, I think was much better. Okay, you're getting your king towards the center, but at least you have now protected the pawn. You're still continuing the game with one pawn up, and I think this is simply better here for Peter. But here after the move a takes b5, he tried rook to b5, but now okay, you have this very well placed king, but still it's nothing going on now. Here Hikaru can fix also the position with the b3, and this is now suddenly a drawish position. So that was a huge mistake by Peter to not to take the pawn with the king. As I said, he made that mistake. b3. We have now, after this move, both players agreed to a draw. So let's go back. Let's see the possible continuation after the move king to b5, b3. We have rook to c8, and now maybe king to b1. Simply continuing to delay the situation, delay this tension between the pawns. But as I said, at least you have to proceed here with one pawn up in order to make something happen, because the problem also for black is that black can never attack. Although this is a weakness, but you cannot attack the weakness here with the move bishop to e3. You don't have a clear path how to attack it, so you would probably maybe have to sacrifice a rook for the bishop and the pawn in order to make something happen. But as I said, this 2 versus 1 situation is still tough to handle here for white. As I said, Peter took with the rook, and after the move king to d5, we have b3. This position, both players agreed to a draw. So okay, what's this draw saying? It says that Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen are the winners of this very, very nice Fischer Random tournament. Although Hikaru Nakamura had better additional criteria, still they're tied and they're shared the first place. Levon Aronian is on the 3rd place, shares the 3rd place with Fabiano Caruana, because Wesley, so as I said, lost the game. And congratulations to Hikaru and congratulations to Magnus Carlsen. It was a great tournament, but in my opinion, they should really avoid to give this tied titles. They should really say, okay, you have better additional criteria, now you're the winner. And in that case, Hikaru Nakamura would be the winner of the tournament. But okay, as I said, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru are both of this Fischer Random madness in 2020. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game and enjoyed this tournament. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was something different, also that I tried on my YouTube chess channel. I usually don't analyze these games, but it was a historical moment because Garry Kasparov faced Magnus Carlsen. The 2 GOATs competed for the throne. Okay, Garry Kasparov unfortunately didn't play so many games, but I think this Fischer Random style also to play on the mouse, not over the board, is something that bothers Garry Kasparov, and he's 57 years old, so didn't forget about that. But it was a great thing that he joined the chess world, that he again competed, managed to get a draw, as I said, against Magnus Carlsen. Still, he's undefeated against Magnus, so it's really a great thing. But as I said, congratulations to any of these players. Alireza also mixed up some situation here in the continuation of the tournament, because he won the last game against Wesley. So you see great tacticians, great theoreticians, great positional players, great really endgame skills here in this. So I think it was a winner for all of us. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed also my coverage. If you want to see more game from this tournament, check out my commented chess games. Here's the link. And you can also watch my best chess games of all time series, which I show you all of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.